It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll go outside for a while and just smile. Just taking some clean, fresh air for me. Staying inside. If the weather's fine and you got the time, it's your chance to wake up and plan another brand new day. Either way, it's a beautiful morning. Each bird keeps singing his own song. So long, I've got to be on my way now. No fun just hanging around. I got to cover ground, you couldn't keep me down. It just ain't no good if the sun shines and you're still inside. Still inside. Still We'll be children with robins and flowers. Sunshine caresses each new waking hour. Seems to me that people keep seeing more and more each day. Gotta say, lead the way. It's okay. Brand new day. Gotta say, it's okay. Alright. Lead the way.
Boom. There we go. I got the bright lights on today. It burns us. How's everybody doing? Let's look at the comments. I got some comments going. Great song, says Delaney Pearl Jones. Carlene Smith, good morning again. See if we get Kenny in here. I've got to go over to Kenny's broadcast. Was not letting some people in, so we went ahead and put it up over here via my studio. Oh, I suppose I should get my mic up here instead of down by my hip, huh? So you hear my farts really loud, but not my voice. Let's see what we got going here on Facebook. Let's see if it showed up. There it is. Says it's live. Bada boom, bada bing. So I got the Facebook on, and I got the you can call in via my look, I'm fuzzy, you can tell. That's my internet. The internet here is doing something wonky. But here, I'll copy this. You can, if you want to come into the show, use that link right there that I just posted into the chat room. And I'm going to put it over here on the Facebook version as well. Let's see if I can get to it. 10 screens open. Call in here. Boom, boom, boom. There, I just put that into the Facebook chat as well. So now you don't have to use Facebook. You can just follow that link, and that'll bring you over here. Kenny, if you see that link, jump on there and let's bring you in. I don't know why I'm so fuzzy this morning. Might be because I got two things playing here. I got Facebook and I got StreamYard, which is running YouTube. So come on over to the YouTube. Come on over to the StreamYard. Call into the StreamYard. Hey, Philip Blair. Good to see you. And Pearson Castile is in the room from East Southwest Missouri. The Dead End Collective, that's got to be Niall. How you doing, Niall, over in Ireland? So I was just trying to call into Ken's show. Facebook was not having any of it. So Ken said, just put it on over in the studio and everybody can join over here. So Kenny, you come on in here. Here, I'll paste that that link if you want to call in. Niall, if you want to call in, there's the link. Anybody else? Carlene, Philip, Sandra, Delaney, Valerie, Roger Rabbit. Let's see who else is in here. Who else is in here? Beth Kirkham, good morning. This is kind of an impromptu, trying to get everything active over here so we can get some calls into Kenny's show. Hey, Anita Palmer. Sorry, guys. I got up a while ago, made my coffee, been running around. I haven't even looked in the mirror yet this morning. Look at that mess. At least I've got some left on top to give me a little tiny bit of a mess. So, here, just use a little water just to not scare y'all. There, we'll just wet it down a bit. How about that? Yeah, baby. That link is to the YouTube stream, not to the StreamYard for guests. Oh, let's try that again. Here, I'm in StreamYard now. Sorry about that, folks. Let me grab this one, copy. If I put the YouTube link in, sorry. Here is the StreamYard link. Now, that's a link if you want to call in. That'll get you here. So, sorry about that. My bad. There, that's a little more tamed, huh? So, go ahead and I'll put that in the Facebook as well. All into the StreamYard. Boom. There it is, folks. There it is. Don't be afeard. You come on in. So it's wide open now. Roger Rabbit, call in, brother. Be good to see your face again. Same with you, Niall. Same with you, Anita. Everybody who's sitting in there. Kenny, get your butt in here. It's your show, brother. So I got my bright lights on today. So, So how's everybody today? There's Pearson Castile. How has everybody been? It's been a while, he said. Yes, it has. Grumpy Stack. Grumpy Stack is your... Grumpy, get your butt in here. You're in between tires, aren't you? Get on in here. By the way, it's unpressed, so the collars are all rolling. Everything's wrinkly, but this is the shirt that my little girl bought me at the thrift store for Father's Day. Here's Delaney.
Hi, everyone.
Jones. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I moved to the local shelter tomorrow. Tired of sitting in these hotels for the last month.
Oh, man.
It's been rough, but
rough go.
I'm dealing with it. Yeah,
it's
but
rough
sorry,
already. It's rough already out there. And then when you have any kind of hit, it just takes you down.
Yeah, the heat is horrible. It's no
I'm
fun.
sorry, darling.
But hey, actually, everything's much better that we're not being abused by his father anymore. So
right. Well,
excuse me for being rough. I too just woke up.
Yeah. I got Niall here from Ireland too. Two of my favorite people. How you doing, Niall? Can you hear me? Niall, can you hear me?
Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go. How you doing, brother?
Sorry, go ahead, Delaney. Yeah, I don't interrupt you. Go ahead.
It's all right. I owe you an apology for being snippy with you a few months ago.
well, that's okay. I'm normally snippy with everybody, anyway. So
we all get snippy.
Yeah. there's no need to apologize for anything.
So
It's all
I
good.
can't. It doesn't matter what you're referring to. I'm sure I said something smart or something like that. Who cares? You were saying anyway, Delaney, about your housing situation. I want you
Yeah,
to.
I'm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just want you to continue your point. I don't want to
Oh,
interrupt you.
okay. Yeah, my son, we were going to the local shelter yesterday, and it's going towards where we used to live at in Janesville. My son started to freak out a little bit. He's like, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back to Janesville. I'm like, we're not going there, honey. I promise you. And that just proved more to me that he does not
yeah,
want to be around his dad anymore.
that's
Yeah.
sad when you've got a dad that leaves his wife traumatized and his kids traumatized. Now, I'm sure, Delaney, you're a big girl. You got your big girl panties on. You can handle stuff, but there's a point where you draw the line and you say, that's it. I don't want to handle this anymore. And
The last time he threatened to hurt my son was like 3 days before we were able to disappear, because he was basically holding us as hostages.
I remember when
financial
all that
hostages.
happened. So
Yeah, and I thank you, Scotty, for all the advice you gave. Thank you so much.
well, for what it's worth,
How old is your son, Delaney?
He's 15.
She's 15. It's
He's
a very
autistic.
it's a very
Yeah,
difficult
he's
age,
15
you
and
know.
autistic.
Really
It
is.
And
Yeah.
his dad had beat him for the first 9 years when he started, like from toddler 2 to like 9. His dad was hurting him, and I would try to stop him, but his dad would hit me after I would try to stop him from hurting the boy. And it was very, very, very traumatic. And the man had the police. The police told me, the local police in Janesville said, "Well, come here when he hurts you and you're bleeding." So I did, and they said, "No, you just stay here and deal with it and keep letting him hurt you."
Wow.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
I mean, can you imagine if you said that out to the world right now? That the police said, just deal with it. You're fine. Don't worry. Yeah.
Well, I've taken it upon
Nothing to
myself
see
to
here.
shame the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've shamed the Janesville police, and I'm going to continue to do it until I get some kind of compensation for it. Because I had been trying since 2013 to leave, and all the police, no, we're not going to help you, because he was so calm and calculated whenever he had interactions with the police. So they just said, keep letting him beat you up.
Oh
I
boy.
said, I see how you guys work.
Yeah. Until we had to, call up and find
And of
something
course,
terrible has happened. Yeah.
Of course, police with domestic situations. All I've heard from police for years is they hate domestic situations, having to deal with them, because you're dealing with emotions that are on a high end from both sides. You're dealing with usually one crazy person, sometimes two, and they don't like getting involved in those if they don't have to, but they do. I mean, they get there, but their advice sometimes is not the best.
It's not the best, and that's a good point, Scotty. And Delaney, you're safe right now with your son, anyway.
Oh yeah.
Your
That
location.
man knows not to come into this town, because the
Yeah.
mayor of the city is one of my good friends, and
Yeah,
most
yeah.
of the police are friends from high school, and all
Yeah.
the gangsters, I have them on lookout.
Yeah, and that's great. So you feel pretty safe at the moment.
Very safe. He knows not to come around here because he's actually
That's
a real
good.
chicken shit.
Yeah. Well, they usually are. They usually are.
I think one of the sad things, and this is a little antithetical to what you're talking about, Delaney, but the flip side of that, and I experienced some of this, is when a woman will use the law and use all these protections that are there for women who are abused, but they're lying. They're making things up.
Yeah, that's not
They don't
okay.
want to have to deal with somebody, so they do that. And so I've been with my ex-wife. I was in a situation like that back 30 years ago almost. And because she made the claim, I got a restraining order filed against me. I got all kinds of stuff. I got the police coming asking me to leave my home, things like that. But then, of course, as we all know, I ended up getting custody of my kids because it was found eventually through the court of law that all of that was fake.
Yeah,
And,
well, your
that's
ex-wife.
the other side of the coin.
Yeah, your ex-wife was a basket case. Let's face it. I mean,
She was.
She really
Still is.
was. You know?
Hey, Kenny Bellows.
Yeah.
Hey, Scotty.
He made it in. All right.
I just want to mention something about you were talking about the domestic call-outs from the police. Yeah, you are right, Scotty. They hate them because normally it's just somebody's gotten drunk and said something that they shouldn't have said, and they're pushing and shoving each other or whatever it is, and they're screaming and shouting. And the police hate those kind of call-outs because they actually feel it's a waste of their time. And in a majority of cases, that's probably true, but I've often thought that there should be some sort of training for the police that they can tell the difference. There should be
Right.
At least there should be 2 police officers. At least one of them should be able to read the scene. You have to be able to read the scene. You don't just go, okay, settle down. Who screamed at who, whatever it is. If there's signs that there is kind of abuse, if either party has bruises on them, or if there's a child running around with no clothes on, if there's the place is really horrible to live in, these are signs, and the police, I'm not sure whether they have the power to do so, but I believe that they should have the power to say, well, I don't believe there's a crime being committed right now, but I think there's major red flags being raised about the circumstances that these people are living in. And there should be a follow-up thing after that. Delaney, you probably agree with that,
Absolutely.
I firmly believe.
Instead of the police just turning around and saying, hey, it's just a fight, it's just a fight between 2 people, we don't want to know, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
What's it like over in Ireland? Now, I know you probably don't get into a lot of domestic squabbles, Niall, because you don't have a partner in the home. But what's it like over there? Is it really the same thing everywhere? Let's talk about Western civilization, modern civilization in the West. I don't think you have as much of this in third world countries. At least it's different, probably. But where you are, is it pretty much the same thing over there?
It is to a certain extent, but do you know what made the difference? And this is going to sound really strange. COVID made the difference, because what happened with COVID is that a lot of these domestic disputes came to light because people were forced to be in lockdown
with each other.
With each other. So the domestic call-outs that were coming in were going off the scale, right? So the police, and there was a couple of crazy murders where, somebody just freaked out and stabbed their wife to death for no reason, or their girlfriend to death for no reason, or horrible stories.
And I think that's why the cops show up to those, because they want to make sure somebody's not being killed or somebody being abused or somebody that's that flip side of 2 sides of the same coin. It's like, I don't want to go do this because it's a waste of time, but what if somebody's really in danger?
Yes. And I think that ironically the COVID thing, as I said, there was a series of 4 or 5 murders involving domestic disputes where police were called out and left the scene, and then somebody was murdered violently. And that happened, during COVID, when people were forced to live together.
Yes.
So it's and it was almost like people went completely mad during the lockdown period. And as a result of that, there has been new legislation here in Ireland brought in about domestic disputes, that they actually have to separate the partners involved and interview them. separately. They always bring a
Yes.
female and a male police officer to the scene, which is very important. Very important to bring a female and a male rather than two males,
Yes.
because they can the women can kind of see signs of things that might happen. But that legislation was only brought in during the lockdown period, because normally here in Ireland, if there was a domestic dispute, most of the time the cops used to hate us. You know, they used to like, oh, whatever. You know, they're all on drugs. They're drunk. They're fighting. Who cares? Doesn't matter. But then people started to get murdered during the lockdown, and all of a sudden, there was a reason for the police to be informed of things and signs to look out for. You know, which is, I believe that the police need to be highly trained in when they get called out to a domestic, things to look out for, you know, signs to look out for.
Yes.
Say, hang on a second.
Sure.
There's something not wrong here. We can't arrest you. We can't. But what we're going to do is we're going to refer this to somebody else who will, you know, act on this or whatever. So, yeah.
Right.
So to answer your question, the reason that this legislation was brought in Ireland was simply because over COVID and over the last few years, the murder rate went through the ceiling.
Yes.
Because, people who were together 24 hours a day, they just flipped, you know. And
I had one situation where I had a male cop and a female cop show up. Now, this was not strictly a domestic, but it's labeled a domestic. It was after the divorce, after I already had custody of my kids, and my ex-wife came to the house to pick the kids up for spring break. She got them for a week for spring break from school. My daughters, I think, were 11-ish, and my son was 2. And she wanted to pick them up and take them away for a week, which is fine. She was allowed by court to do that. And she got them on weekends, every other weekend, and then holidays and stuff like that. And so I said, that's fine. I need to know the information of where you're going to be, where you're taking the kids. I want to be able to contact them or have them contact me. And she wouldn't give me that information. And she pulled up to the house, and she drove up to the house, and I walked out to the car. Not threatening, just like I would do for anybody, any friend coming over. I'd walk up to the car, go, hey. And I go, hey, good morning. I said, and I tried to talk to her, and she wouldn't even roll down her window, and she wouldn't look at me out the side, straight ahead. And I said, if you can't talk about this or where you're going, where the kids are going to be, where I can contact them, I said, you can't take them.
Absolutely. Talk about a red flag, Scotty.
That was a red flag. And so I go back inside and I tell the girls are crying. They're not crying because they miss their mom as much as they were crying over the situation.
Yeah.
And I said, just stay here. We'll get it sorted out. And of course, she called the police, and the police came, and it was a male and a female cop came to the door.
Okay, we're cutting out. I'm out of here. I'm gonna go. It's getting glitchy.
Oh, you got to take off? Did you say, or is glitching? I'm glitching out. Oh, there's your one.
No, you're not glitching. You're fine. I think Delaney is glitching. Yeah. So
when they were there, by the way, I had the big garage door open, and you come to the back of the garage. There was a doorway that came into the house, and they knocked on that door, and my ex-wife is out at the end of the driveway pacing back and forth. And just for the visual, she's got tight black leather pants on and a leather biker jacket and blonde hair, and she's out there pacing back and forth. And the cops are like, so what's going on? And immediately the female cop was almost hostile toward me. Why aren't you letting your kids go? And my kids, of course, are right inside the door. And I said, kids, why don't you go over and sit down? And because the cops started and she starts blasting me for you're kind of a horrible parent for not letting your kids go. And I said,
even though you don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And so I brought that up, and I said, you know, I said, I am in great support of the police. I always have been. And I stand for what you guys do. I said, but for you, ma'am, to make a comment like that in front of my children that I am a horrible parent, I says, tells me that you have no idea what you're dealing with.
Hmm.
And I said, in all due respect, and I used this voice, I said, in all due respect, I said, I think before you render judgment like that, you need to go look at the details of this case
Hmm.
and why I would not allow my kids to go with her. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, you can go double check this. Well, you're going to let your kids go? And I said, no. I said, as long as she refuses to tell me where they're going, how I can get a hold of them for a week, I said, my kids will be going nowhere. And well, do you have the authority? I do. And I produced the paperwork. Here's the paperwork. And so they ended up leaving. And I know the woman cop was kind of yelling at me. The man, he was about a foot taller than she was. I remember him, tall, blonde guy, good shape. And she's talking, and he looks at me, and he does this. He goes like that about her. Sorry, you know. And I,
You know, and that's exactly
So-
what I'm talking about, Scotty. I mean, how the cops? I mean, I'm very surprised that the woman would have reacted that way.
yeah.
Because she must have sensed that this woman was taking these children, but she sounded like someone who was immediately suspicious of the male.
Yes.
In your case, you.
Sure.
So-
Because that's what
so-
they face 99% of the time.
Yeah, but in your case,
So,
you were in this situation where your 3 children were being taken away. Your ex-wife was refusing to disclose the location where they were going.
right.
She was acting. She wasn't speaking to you. She wasn't explaining things. She wasn't acting normally.
Right.
The cops should have picked up on this stuff straight away. You know,
Right.
but they
And,
seem not to have. You know,
The whole record of that whole divorce and that whole custody battle and
Mm.
all of that was spotlighted, highlighted by all the times she did something very similar, where she would take the kids, or she wouldn't tell, or the kids would be talking to me on the phone, and she'd grab the phone from them and hang it up, or she'd unplug her phone if they were on the ground phone. It was always full of non-communication, and that's part of the reason she lost custody. The judge looked at all of that, and he said, he said in court, I remember, he said, frankly, he says, I got to say, you're not a very good parent. And he says, you got to get over this stuff. He says, I don't care what your disputes are with the ex. He says, you can hate them. He says, but you need to get along for the sake of your children in order to have logistics set, to set your timing, to stick by the schedule, and so on.
absolutely.
And that's the truth of all these. And so with Delaney, I feel bad for her. She's in a situation where the guy was abusive. Her son is like, please don't take me back there where he's abusive. And those are big red flags. And so,
But I'm glad to hear that Delaney is in somewhat of a safe position
Yeah.
right now. You know, by
I
the
always
way,
feel bad
hello,
when they have to go into a shelter. You know, that's
hi, Carleen. Carleen? Is
Yeah.
that Carleen. Nice to meet
Hi.
you, Niall. Yeah.
Yep. I was just
So-
listening, and it's interesting because Scotty, you had a terrible time with a female cop, and anytime I would call on my ex-husband while I was in the situation, they'd send the male cops, and they were the biggest, douchebags you could ever think of. It's like, oh,
Sure.
well, you had a beer, so that gives him the right to beat the shit out of me because I had a beer.
Yeah.
I mean,
And,
that was their attitude.
it's not so much that the cop she was going on what she was used to having to deal with.
You know?
I found her, it wasn't a bad situation. It was manageable. I was able to manage it.
Yeah.
And I kept my cool, and I was professional about it. I also was professional when I told her, no,
Yeah.
you don't say that in front of my children.
Yeah,
I
but
said,
that female cop made some assumptions.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, based on some of the messages that we've been talking about the last day or so about women and men.
Yeah.
that female cop made an assumption that somehow you were to blame for this
Yeah.
situation,
Right.
not her.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and
whereas,
that's the same with the male cops that I dealt with. Oh, it's
Mm.
your call. Excuse me.
mm,
Just the same woman, my ex-wife, a couple of years earlier, several years earlier, she hit me. It was so stereotypical. She hit me in the head with a frying pan.
Oof.
Bang!
spadoing.
She
Yeah.
clipped me. And this is when my daughters, who were now, at this point, this incident I told, they were about 11. They were babies. They were infants. They weren't even 6 months old. And she hit me over the head with something. And I grabbed her hand, her arm, her wrist. And I said, "Stop. Enough."
Mhm.
And the pan's laying on the floor. And she called the police because I put my hands on her. Guess who had to leave the home?
You.
Me.
Yeah.
Because I was so much bigger than she is. I was a head taller than she was. She was slight and very finely built woman, and I was a big ex-football player looking guy. And so the cops automatically assumed she was in danger from me.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah,
well, you touched
that's
her.
the problem. I mean, if even domestic or even people who are emotionally disturbed, the cops come and they have no clue how to handle it. We had a
Absolutely. I was saying that to Scotty earlier.
Yep.
The cops have no clue how to handle domestics,
Right.
where they should have.
We had an emotionally disturbed person back behind us, and they had the family. Just somebody we knew because she lives near us, and the cops came, and the cops made matters worse. And we're ramping this girl up who is definitely going through something emotional, having an emotional break, whatever. And the only way we could calm her down was she'd been talking to my husband some private message because we were friends on Facebook. And I said to him, "Can you go out and talk to her?" Because I said, they're going to arrest her because the cops are actually aggravating the situation. And it took my husband going out and calming this poor girl down and keeping her safe. Because the cops are like, I said, I brought him out because she's been talking to him about what's going on. Maybe he can help. Well, we don't care what he does, but if she keeps it up, we're going to, it's like, what kind of attitude is that? You're dealing with somebody who's having an emotional break. I mean, these cops, seriously, and not all of them, but they need some backup. They need people who are in the field when they go to these calls that knows how to handle that situation.
Exactly. And that's a great point, Caroline. The cops, if they're in a domestic situation where they're not sure what's going on, they can't read the situation completely.
No,
they need to say that. They need to say there's something off here, but we're not going to walk away from this. We have to hand this over to somebody else. And we're not going to leave this scene until we figure out.
I mean, it was sad. I mean, we had 3 cops up here and all they were doing was aggravating this poor girl. And you could see, I mean, even if I didn't know her, I would know she was having some kind of mental break. And all they were doing was aggravating her and kept antagonizing her. And I'm like, oh, well, then it's finally, well, you keep that up, we're going to arrest you. And I'm like, you just aggravated the situation, butthole.
Yeah, it's completely the wrong approach. It's completely the wrong approach.
Let me... Oh, sorry, Dial. Go ahead.
No. Fire away, Scotty.
I was going to say, let me shift the gear for just a second into the woo factor, the La La Land factor of all of this, because I think it's worth having a mini conversation about. Philip Blair brought up that this woman was convicted of murdering her own children after the judge awarded full custody to her. And it was an ugly case, and he said she claimed that her children were possessed by demons, and she was rescuing them by taking their lives. All right. Lapse with me for a moment, if you will, into some of the fictional things. We watch movies, we read books, and we hear of these cases where there is, at least in a fictional setting, there is some demonic entity or something like that, and they have to purge them, and they've killed someone in order to protect the rest of the world or whatever. You can make up the fictional storyline in your mind. do we lend any veracity when we are people who accept the fact that there is paranormal activity, if you will, or supernatural activity, that
Sure.
exists in this world? Do we ever set aside our thoughts and say, maybe some of this is due to, maybe a man is abusive because he's allowed something to take over. Maybe a woman is abusive for the same reason. Maybe murders happen because of this. And this is totally separate from the issue. I know we'll talk about this paranormal and supernatural
Yeah.
stuff, but when it comes to talking about real abuse in the real world, we totally eradicate ourselves from that kind of discussion and discourse.
Sure.
How do you find out? And do you think that that kind of activity can actually exist to drive somebody to do something? Or is it all a different form of mental illness?
Well, absolutely,
Yeah.
it can drive people to do things. I'm a firm believer that there is outside forces that can affect people, particularly people who are vulnerable, who can dark forces can infiltrate their mind. And I mean, there's a very close step between the schizophrenia, full-on schizophrenia, and demonic possession. But I'm not sure what the context is that you're talking about. Are you still talking about that people should
I'm
be
talking more
informed?
hypothetical and in
All right.
general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think. I mean, there's crazy stories that you hear about that a lot to do with mental illness. That a woman would put all her young children in the back of the
Right.
car and drive them
Yeah.
into a lake. That happens constantly in this
Yeah.
country, and we're a small country. That's happened constantly. It's very easy to draw the line and kind of say, well, that's just mental illness.
Yes.
Or is that something more?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
We had,
Yeah.
when my daughters, who are now 31, when they were teenagers at home, and Rainey was on the scene. She was the stepmom. And so we're talking 15, 16 years ago. And there was a lot of fighting going on at the house. And it wasn't your typical. It didn't seem like we're fighting, we're just arguing over who's going to take out the garbage or something. It felt like there was something dark going on, and it went on for a while. And I started to ask a question: is there something spiritually going on with my family? Not to excuse anything, not to excuse people from getting a control of their emotion. Hey, get control of yourself. You don't have to yell about everything. I'm not talking about that. It just seemed dark and heavy all the time. And so I was talking to a friend of mine who is not an exorcist. I've mentioned him before, Adam Bly. He talks about exorcism. He has been brought to the Vatican to teach about it, but he's not a priest, he said, so he doesn't have the ability to do that within the Catholic Church, the rules. But he's a demonologist and very well credentialed as such. Not just somebody who goes, I'm a demonologist, because I like to talk about demons. He's somebody who's researched for years and years. He says, I'm seeing something. Some people, he said, you would call it psychic activity. He wouldn't ever admit to having psychic abilities. He said, this is God and angels that are showing me things. And he said, there's something you're wearing. He said, he went like this. He says, it's twisted. And I pulled up this little cord, and it had on a Celtic cross that was all Celtic knotwork, all twisted. He said, that's it. He said, I don't know where you got that. He said, but there's something attached to that. He says, I want you to go find a body of moving water, a river, toss it in the river.
Wow.
And that's going to help. He says, there's something that has influence, and there's something inanimate object that has carried that into your family. And it happened to be a Celtic cross that had been given to me years earlier from a woman that I dated who was a solitary practitioner of Wicca, which is not a problem. But she became very, if she had cursed me, I wouldn't have doubted it when we broke up. She was in with a lot of people who believed in that. Get him out of your life and curse him. But I still had that cross on. So I took it down to the river with Rainey, and we tossed it in the river, and be gone, whatever we said. And so it momentarily resolved the problems. That was either a psychological thing. Then we went, hey, we can breathe better now. I didn't feel anything really different, other than I did notice that the heavy activity subsided. And was there a spiritual influence? Probably. Can they be attached by spiritual influences? Yes. Can they overcome those? Yes. Can they drag out spiritual activity and make it worse by putting all their stock in that? Yes. I think there are some people, you see them on these television shows and things where they go to families and they're so obsessed with everything that's going bad in the house, and they blame it on this demonic activity, when in case what they're doing, I think psychologically, they've latched onto that and they've allowed that to carry away their emotions.
Absolutely. And if I might say here, I don't know whether you've ever read the work of Malachi Martin. I'm sure you have.
Yes. Not
Famous
extensively, but I have.
Irish Catholic priest who was heavily involved in the Vatican, and during the 70s and 80s was kind of the chief exorcist. Father Amfortis was his follow-up. The new movie with Russell Crowe is about Father Amfortis and his exorcisms and stuff. But Malachi Martin wrote a number of books based on what they call the 5 stages of possession.
Yes.
Including obsession, full possession, and also what they describe as an ability to spiritually engage with people who are extremely vulnerable,
Yes.
mentally, and unsure of their own minds, so that they could easily slip in to a situation where somebody is really going through, somebody who's mentally incapable really of controlling their own lives. That's what this demonic influence is attracted to, because it's an easy gateway. It's an easy entry point for them. Very difficult to prove, of course, because even the Catholic Church have a huge set of dogmas and procedures involved in psychiatric evaluation of such people, because they're normally, not normally, but in many cases, the underprivileged young people, or normally, 80% of the time, underprivileged young people. And the whole idea of poltergeist attaching itself to young females, because their hormones are racing and all that kind of stuff. But also they can attach themselves to other females who might have a vulnerability, including what we were talking about earlier on, abusive relationship, where they're vulnerable and completely open to whatever they hear in their heads. So that's going back to what you said about your ex-wife and the kids in the car. It's like, what the hell is going on here exactly?
Exactly.
So I'm not sure whether that's the point you were trying to make, or that's what you were referring to by introducing this. But I believe 1,000% that there is influences from the demonic realms in many cases.
Well, I look at your art, Niall. I to say I love your art, I don't look at your art and go, oh, that is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm drawn in. I look at your art and say it's beautiful because it's something that is coming from inside of you. It's something you've created, and it's dark, but it's beautiful because you're capturing something in your art. So I look at your art and I say, this is a man who is acquainted with this kind of thing. You understand it. Hey, come here. Hey, as long as she's here, sorry to interrupt. Here is Rowan.
Hey, Rowan, got you.
11-year-old.
I love the hair.
Love the haircut.
Love the hair.
Ryan loves the
I
hair.
was just
All the
saying, I
way
love
from
the hair
Ireland.
color.
So
We lost the chicken.
we lost a
We
chicken.
don't know where it is.
It just disappeared.
One of them we found sitting in the swing on the top of the tree.
Nice.
So
They're only about this big so far. They're chicks a month ago.
Apparently, you haven't clipped their wings yet.
Not yet. They
Now
haven't
they-
really had much wings until
Yeah.
well, they all of a sudden went boom.
Yep.
But we have a cat, stupid cat.
he's right there, so we know it's not him.
Oh, and we
Cats
know
are
it's
not stupid,
we know it's
Scotty.
not Bob Saget. Bob Saget is his name.
Yep.
We know it's not Bob Saget. But he would go outside. He's not even a year old, so he's
Yep.
still young. Bye. He would go outside. Talk about
And pull your chickens out.
he's not demon possessed, but he's spastic as all hell. And he's like, wherever I go, he's under my feet, tripping me. Hi, where are we going? What are we doing? He's like a puppy dog. But so he's a sweethearted cat. But man, he wants to play with those chicks to the point of there'd be no life left in them.
Of course
Yeah.
not.
And
They'll be all
I
dead.
was standing in the kitchen, and out the sliding glass door, I caught a glimpse of him running across the yard with a big white ball in his mouth. And I thought,
Oh,
oh, what's he got? And I went, chicken. And I went outside, and he already disappeared around the side of the house. He got through the fence, and I found the chicken hopping around, and he was fine. But he hadn't destroyed him yet. But so we've
But-
got to keep Bob Saget away from the chickens.
Well,
until
well,
they
you
get
know,
big enough
maybe-
to peck at him.
maybe Bob Saget thinks they're his babies.
I don't know.
Who
He moved his-
knows?
he's killed
Who-
2 of them already.
Oh,
We had 4.
okay.
We're
Well,
down
then
to 2.
probably not.
So
But
you can
Scotty,
only have
on your
4 in
on
the
your
city
on your
limits here.
whoops, on your other subject, that makes me think. I said, we had a stepmother. God forbid we had several, and we were. I think I was like 8 when the abuse started. I mean, she was a hateful kind of woman.
Yeah.
But when you're that age, it's really odd. Me and my sister, she would have been, by the time she got talking, I would have been quite a bit older. But we got talking, and it comes across more and more now. Like we said, she had that. She was a demon. She wasn't a person. She wasn't human. There was no way she was human. And this is coming from young kids who lived with her for 8 years. And it just that brings up, I'm like, God, I remember talking to my sister about it more than once when we were in the situation. I mean, when my father was married to her for 8 years, and we're like, she's not human. There's no way anybody who's human could be doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are outside influences. And I just want to answer, Scotty, your direct question to me about the artwork.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is something that I'm aware of, that the artwork that I produce is disturbing to some people, and they can't understand it. They think this guy must be mentally unbalanced in some way.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's true. Maybe it's not. But I've always, since I was very young, I've always been an illustrator like you. But I was always drawn to, pun intended, drawn to kind of create the work, the unseen work.
Yes.
And I've been interviewed a number of times about this, who have questioned my sanity about why do I create all this dark artwork. And so for me, it's like, if you walk into a dark room, and when just before you turn the light on, that's the room. It's the same room as a
Yes.
room, but it's in darkness. You can't see what's in it. You don't know what's going on, and then you put the light on, and you can see what's going on.
Yes.
So what I've done with my artwork is show the dark room before the light goes on. Right.
All right.
So that's basically what it's about. So
Yes.
all of these ideas of people crouched in corners and hiding away, and it's like, they're in the darkness where you can't see them. When you put the light on, they disappear. But
Yes.
so it's to do with your and it's something that was always very important to me to explore that area
Yeah.
of the human psyche, the hidden areas, and
Yes.
do it in artistic form. So that's the reason for that. Is there something guiding my hand? Is there a dark influence behind it? Perhaps.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Is there some mental faculty that I'm lacking? I would almost say probably, certainly.
Yeah.
There is something missing, or that hasn't been fully explored in my life, that I feel
Sure.
attracted to that. So I just wanted to answer that question because you asked me directly, so I just thought I would.
And that is, I think, the beautiful thing about your artwork, and that's what I think real art is. I do so much commercial art that I don't get the opportunity so much to put emotion and passion into art, although I can get passionate about anything. But what you do is you have taken and you express those things that you're exploring, which to me makes what you do such incredible art. And there's Kenny. We lost him, I guess. Now he's back. Oh, I lost Carlene. There's Kenny. Glad you're back with us,
It's
Kenny.
just a different way of expressing yourself.
Yeah.
Like I know many artists, they love to draw buildings or landscapes. They love to draw, flowers and trees, and they're very talented at doing so. But for me, that's kind of not where I'm at, because you can take a photograph of those things just as easily.
Yeah.
So it's not about the technique. It's not about how good you are. It's more about expressing what isn't seen.
Right.
So from that point of view, it's whatever is going on in the mind, expressed in an artistic format. Now, most of the stuff I do is black and white sketches, but I've done a lot of paintings. They're all over the place here.
Yes.
And
as a true artist studio should be.
Yeah. And it's kind of like unformed, ghost-like, nothing that you could say that is extremely disturbing, but it's kind of like it's in that gray area between reality,
Yes,
as we perceive it, as we see it, and what is contained within our minds. And as an artist, that's just where I fit in. I'm not the first to do this. A lot of artists do this, but they want to kind of explore and show what is contained within the human mind, our fears, our doubts. How do you show that explicitly?
Right.
How do you show that? Well, you can't. So you have to show it in like a dream.
Yes.
It's kind of Jungian. You have to show it like a dream. It's like how do you show that? Well, you can't.
Yes.
So you have to show it in
by
like
the way,
a dream.
let me just interrupt your stream of thought.
You have to show it like a dream.
Here's
It's
the
like,
soul surviving
how do you
chicken.
show that? Well, you can't. So you have to
We got some
show it in
feedback
like
from
a
you
dream.
guys.
It's kind of
Not sure where that's coming from.
surviving
Pretty hefty feedback. So anyway, there's the soul surviving chicken.
I'll tell you what. I'll leave now. I'm not sure why this feedback is happening.
I don't know if it's coming from you. I don't know where it's coming from.
That's a good question.
Let me here. I'm going to mute your mic for a
Yeah,
second.
just mute me down.
I'm going to see if I can tell where it's coming from. Let's see.
YouTube open.
Oh, it's coming from you, Kenny. Kenny, I mute your mic and it stops playing.
Oh yeah, well, maybe Kenny needs to put
You
on
got
headphones.
some sound on, Kenny. You might be frozen up too. I'm gonna. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna mute Kenny for a second until he can get that figured out.
I think he needs to put on the headphones or something.
Yeah,
I think he's
doesn't
playing
usually,
through.
which is funny that it all
Yeah.
leaked through. But I was just gonna say, there it is, the soul surviving chicken. She just
Oh,
found the other
wow.
one mutilated
me see
with
the
all its
chicken.
organs ripped out in the neighbor's yard. So
Ah.
something caught it and probably a cat.
It's an unusual breed. What breed is that? That's not normal
Well,
chicken.
you know what the
Normally
breed
they're
is?
kind of orange and yellow and stuff like that.
Yeah,
is
well,
a
this one
what-
is it's grown up. It's about a month or 6 weeks old, maybe
Mm.
2 months old by now. This will be a white hen, I think. Just a regular white
yeah.
hen.
Beautiful.
So
Beautiful.
there you go.
And his
So
name-
instead of having 2 dozen eggs every week, we'll have 4 eggs every week or whatever it is. So anyway, there you go.
Mom,
That's
buy
good.
us more chickens.
Yeah, you can get more chickens, and they're like
Yeah.
$4 a piece or
They're
something.
$6.
$6. They've gone up.
Yeah, but do you guys have foxes around there as well, don't you?
Foxes, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're out in the country here, so
Yeah.
um,
So foxes are the main predator.
yeah,
We're not in
Chickens.
the
So
country.
yeah.
we're close enough. You go 5 blocks that way, you're in the woods. So
Mm.
there you go. Well, there you go. You and your chicken. You and your chicken can hang out, or you can leave.
Where's the cat?
Oh, Bob Saget has moved. He saw the chicken and he thought, I must position myself.
Okay, I'm going to put myself on mute, and if your show is still going on, I'll rejoin. But you let me know what you're doing. I'm just
Me?
gonna, yeah,
I'm going to end here pretty soon.
yeah. You're going to end pretty soon.
But
Yeah.
tomorrow, I'll be back here doing Kenny's show tomorrow morning.
Okay.
At it would be 8:30. Well, we could probably do it at 8 o'clock my time now because I don't have to drive kids to school. So 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, which would be 2 p.m. I think you're 6 hours different.
Hmm.
What do you have there right now? Do you have 4 in the afternoon? 4:20? Niall?
Precisely 4:20. 4:20.
So
yeah.
6
Yeah.
hour difference. 8 p.m. 2 p.m. tomorrow. We'll be back right here on this channel.
Yeah, and
so
we
watch
can
for the
continue to discuss that. But
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump out of chat now and maybe there's some other people who want to
Okay.
jump on or whatever.
We're only going to go a few more minutes, so maybe 10 minutes and we'll be gone. Maybe
All right.
tomorrow bring some of your artwork with you. I'd like to,
Wow,
so we
Wow.
can show some of your work.
that might take a while. Yeah, but sure.
Sure,
If,
sure.
if you're really interested,
I am. I think
okay.
everybody else would be too. So,
All right, brother. Talk soon.
all right, Niall.
Take care.
We'll see
Bye-bye.
you soon. Bye-bye. You can go to Niall's, is it his Instagram or his Facebook? I think you can just go to, let me see if I can find it here. Niall Parkinson is he's artist. There you go. Niall Parkinson artist. You can go there. I've liked his stuff. I think this is an open site for people to take a look at his work. I will paste this in the chat room. So you can go to Facebook and go here. And you'll see some of Niall's artwork there. And if he's got a different site, he'll let us know what that site might be. But you can take a look at a lot of his work here. And I don't know if he's got the latest and greatest up here. Yeah, he's got November 2020 is the third post down. So this might be some older stuff. But you can also find him, his personal one, and send him a friend request. And you can probably see his work there. So that's Niall. And he's over in Ireland. So, hey, Field Guy. How you doing? You want to come in for the last couple of minutes? You can. Here's the invite again. And I'm only going to go about, by the looks of this, maybe 7 more minutes. And so right around 10:30 my time, 11:30 out east, we're gonna hang this up. This was just a little impromptu. There were some connectivity issues with Kenny's show, and so he asked if I'd put this up. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to do this, though, at 8 a.m. my time, which is 9 a.m. Eastern time, and which would be 6 a.m. out on the left coast. So there you go. If you want to join up tomorrow morning. So that was an interesting conversation and interesting stuff with my daughter and the chickens. one of our chickens found gutted in the neighbor's yard. So some cat obviously got to them. So that's too bad. So we're down 3, 1 surviving chicken. We'll see if it makes it and makes it to the egg laying stage. So Ireland, where the good folk still mix with humans, the wee folk, the wee people, the good people, as they call them. So, yeah, you go out in the highways and the byways, out in the backcountry in Ireland, you're going to get a lot of that and see a lot of that. So, what is today? Thursday? I have no show tonight. I would love it if you would all go check out my Patreon site. And my Patreon, I'm just doing a little self-advertising here. Patreon is where I have moved my radio show. I will put this down in the chat room here. You can go check it out right there. So if you go check out our presence there, it is a site where you have to pay to get the show now. It's $4 minimum a month is what that is. So that's about the cost of a cup of coffee per month. And you get about 30 shows over there, plus some extras that we're working up toward. So we're in that slow build from having had thousands of listeners down to, 10 patrons over there right now. We're trying to build that up. We've been over there for 2 weeks. If it's something you'd like to do, it's there. And I'd love to have you over there. And tomorrow night, we're going to broadcast live from Patreon, but we're going to open it up to the public. So if instead of just to patrons, we're going to do a public show so you can get a feel for what it's like over on the Patreon channel. And so there's that. And that's all I got on that for advertisements. We got Pearson is over in the chat room. We'll bring him on we got a couple of minutes left. Pearson, how you doing, brother? I see your fingers.
Hey, Scotty.
There you are.
I'm doing okay. Just thought I'd narrate a little story here for you, or tell you a little story on
Got a couple of
today's
minutes,
topic
so
that we have. Definitely, I can make it pretty short here, but we have a small town down here in Southwest Missouri in my county, named Windyville that is, very. The main thing that people know about the town, it's not very, it's really, really small little ghost town, and it is supposedly supposed to be haunted, and it's been known for that for years. A lot of the legends are not really substantial, I would say.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just kind of, you never know, passed along kind of thing. But we had a pretty really, really gruesome murders and take place in that town in 2021. I mean, just one of the most terrible we've had in this area in a long time. And of course, it takes place in this little town. Very, very creepy stuff. And it's like, it elevated the town to a lot more fame just because of, how people will run loose with that. But it makes you wonder,
sure.
what type of outside forces, because the whole town is supposed to be very haunted. It does have an eerie feel down there. Multiple cemeteries in that area, are supposedly haunted. The normal ghost stories kind of thing. But it definitely makes you wonder, because when you go down there, you can feel the heaviness in the air.
Yeah.
It's very palpable.
I hear you, brother. I've been in those places where you think that. Pearson, thanks for that quick story. I'm going to let you go. I got to talk to Kenny before we have to go off air. So,
right.
Pearson, take care. We'll see you maybe tomorrow night on my Patreon for Intrepid Radio. We're going to do a broadcast that's open to the public and to show people what it's like over there. So you take care, Pearson. All right, Kenny, good to see you, brother.
In them days, having a hard time getting on this morning. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Thanks, Scotty.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking me. And we'll come back tomorrow morning. We'll be here at 9 a.m. your time, 8 a.m. my time. and 6 a.m. left coast time.
Sure.
And Australia, it'll be like 2 in the afternoon or something. So they're in the future. So it's good to have you, brother. And
Scotty.
good to see you.
Tomorrow.
I'm glad that the cancer is gone. There is no trace. Folks, if you have not heard, he's gone through the treatments and all that stuff. He went to his doctor yesterday. No sign of cancer at all. So there we go. Let's you got something to do. You've been given that second opportunity, and God's got something for you to do. So there you go. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about RFK Jr. I saw a video of him. He's a Democrat, but I know he's a very good friend of Trump's. I would love to see, and we'll talk about this more tomorrow, I'd love to see Trump ask him to be the vice presidential candidate. Even though he's Democrat, let's show some crossing of the parties. Let's show some, because RFK has got some good ideas. And I watched a video of his yesterday that almost brought tears to my eyes. And the way he thinks. He's never been a politician. And he's got a lot going behind him. Let's talk about him a little bit tomorrow morning.
That'll be fun.
And see what you all think. So, all right, guys. Kenny, good to see you, brother. Everybody else, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning. And we'll talk more about tomorrow night's show on Intrepid Radio. So thanks for being here. As always, live long and prosper.
It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll go outside for a while and just smile. Just taking some clean, fresh air. Oh, staying inside. If the weather's fine and you got the time, it's your chance to wake up and plan another brand new day. Either way, it's a beautiful morning. Oh, each bird keeps singing his own song. So long, I've got to be on my way now. No fun just hanging around. I got to cover ground. You couldn't keep it down. It just ain't no good if the sun's shining. You're still inside. Still inside. Still inside. We'll be children with robins and flowers. Sunshine caresses each new waking